center and balance variation or flow. So I'm going to start on their former with their legs hanging over the foot bar. And we're going to breathe. We're going to fill our lungs with air. And we're going to let it all out. Bring in awareness to the breath. Reaching the hands up to the sky. And they could have their feet on the platform if that's more comfortable. We're going to protract and retract. Protract and retract. Bringing awareness to scapular position on the body, still keeping a neutral spine. And then we're going to do a little imprint and release. Arms can come down. So find the little pelvic tilt to neutral. A little imprint and release. Once we've got an awareness to the body's alignment and the breath, then we put the feet on the foot bar, heels on, in the parallel, close together position. And then we're going to press out and pull in. I'm going to slide down to the balls of the feet for wrap toes. Press out and then really bring in awareness to those heels staying low, only coming in as far as I can keep those heels low. My arches are working and my Achilles is getting a little stretch. I'm trying to maintain neutral position the whole time. And then I'm going to come to my high heel Pilates feet, toes apart, heels together. Again, neutral in the spine and pelvis. And pressing out, waking up the deep rotators and the inner thighs. All 10 toes in contact with that foot bar. Hold this one out, still in the laterally rotated position. I'm going to lower and lift. Getting a little bit of activation and stretch in that calf. And then I'm going to come back in. I'm going to take it to my wider heels on Pilates feet, still within the frame of my body, so not over wide or over rotated. Knees and toes are still about that 10 and 2. Pressing out, still finding inner thighs and glutes. I'm going to come back in and go to an internally rotated position. So I'm just going to rotate where I am. They may have to move their feet in. And I'm going to do that medially rotated. So I work the internal rotators, stretching the lateral rotators, working that inside VMO. And then I'm going to come back to my high heels. Press my carries out. No hyperextension of the knees. I'm going to bend and stretch in my running or prancing, but a nice slow variation so I get the stretch and then the activation. Then I'm going to hold one heel down. If they tuck their toes under and pull with the non-stretching side, they can get a little extra. They'll feel kind of like when we pull on their heels. And then I'll release that and do the same thing on the other side. Trying to keep that knee not hyperextended, but dropping the heel, pulling with the other foot under the foot bar. And then return. Making sure headrests are down. Arches the heels on in a nice lined up parallel position. I'm going to articulate, making sure I'm not jammed up there. I'm going to articulate into my bridge. So I'm going to do a pelvic curl a couple times. And then I'm going to continue the curl and peel up. Hinging for those people that have a reason not to articulate. And do a few of those. Trying to mobilize the spine, activate abdominal and back muscles, and the glutes and the hamstrings at the top. I'm going to hold the next one up. And I'm going to add a hip dip. Left hip comes down, bring it up. Right hip drops down. So it's a little spinal rotation, pelvic rotation. And then I'm going to hold to lower back down. I'm going to do one more bridge. I'm going to peel it up. Knees really reaching over toes. And I'm going to do a shift right to left. Just trying to keep everything but the pelvis still. So it's a little side to side versus up and down. And then melting the spine all the way back down. From here, they can keep their feet down or bring them to tabletop for a little spinal rotation. So we're just going to drop the knees to one side and bring it back. Knees to the other side and bring it back. Meanwhile, them, so one red spring. So again, legs come to tabletop, they can fold where they need to and give them a little oblique tick-tock with the spinal rotation. So nice mobilization and then catching to pull it back. And then releasing that. And so I'm going to put one foot down and through the foot bar. And then I'm going to rotate my top leg. It can stay resting on the foot bar or it can come down. And I can take my arms out to a T or I can keep them down by my side. Sometimes I like to put my hand on top of that knee. And then I'll bring it back. Same thing on the other side. I didn't adjust my carriage back from my last client. That's a little shorter than me. So I can rest it here. That arm can go out. Hand can go on the knee. And then I'm going to come back in. I'm going to put my hands in these straps. Again, headrest could come back up if they need it there. Get your hands, use the foot bar to help press out till the hands are lined up with the chest and shoulders. And then legs to tabletop. From here, protract, retract again. Trying to get that retraction of those rhomboids, middle lower traps. And then hold the connection. And we'll do a little lift and lower. Holding it down, turning my palms in, T-press. You can give them a break between the movements if they need it. Working abdominals, mobilizing shoulders. So you can take a little break. And then I'm going to do circles, and I'm going to hold the open after my last circle. So I'm going to get my shoulders set, find the scapular stability, legs up in the air, and then I'm going to circle down, around, and up. Again, shoulder mobilization, working on that balancing between the sides. And then I'm going to reverse. I'm going to press the other direction with my circles. Now as I open my arms to the T, I'm going to put my feet on the foot bar, and I'm just going to let my arms hang out to the side. Stretching my pecs, chest, shoulder area. They could take it into a goal post and get a little different stretch that also feels good. And then pressing off the foot bar, I'm going to have them put their feet in the straps, still on that one red string, so it's pretty light. So there'll be some abdominal work that has to happen here. And I'm going to start with just a lift and lower. So I want them to find nice stable back and pelvis hinging from that hip, not the booty. Abs stay still. Find a little hamstring stretch at the top, and then abs, glutes, and hamstrings are pressing down. And then here I'm going to turn to my Pilates B. I'm going to come in and out of my frog shape, trying to stop where the legs are pretty vertical, not letting them fly all the way into my shoulders. So I find the control of the movement. I'm working inner thighs and hip rotators. I'm going to hold this frog in. Take left leg out to the side, right one hold still for a little inner thigh stretch. So it's in our stag Peter Pan, but just holding it for a stretch. Then I'm going to bring that leg back into frog to catch that tension. And then the other leg will go out for an inner thigh stretch on the right side. Keeping a little pressure on the left leg to control how much of a stretch they get. And then bring it back in, press it back out long, zip up the belly again, and then we'll go into some circles. Making sure they're controlling their circle, abs and back are stable, or abs are stabilizing back. And the circles are not out of control or too wide, but mobilizing and stabilizing at the same time. And then I'm going to reverse my circle. And I'm going to bend my knees in, taking one foot out of the strap. Options here, they can find the footbar with that. We're in a hamstring stretch, so I'll show you all the options here. They can let this knee bend and control the motion, and they're going to get a hamstring stretch here. They could pull down on the rope or hardware to increase it. They could take their foot down to the platform, or even through between the springs all the way to the floor. And then they'll get a hip flexor opening here. So that's available to them without adding a hip hike. So you still want to keep the hips level and then let that strap come in. Option to give a little more by pulling here. And then have them do a little push into it, but don't go anywhere, relax. You get a little PNF or contract, relax. Or contract, hold, stretching. And now again, any of the options with the foot placement. If the foot goes down, again, hip flexors open. Now I'm going to take that leg across my body. And if I can, I'm going to think pinky toe reaches towards the opposite wall, staying long through the sides of the waist. And now I'm getting a lateral hip down the side of the lateral hamstrings. A little IT band feel as well, but really those lateral hips getting a stretch. They could go a little, not super tug, but a little extra resistance. And then thinking about rotating that hip. So it looks like the foot's rotating, but it's really from the hip. If they drop the foot a little bit, they'll also get a little stretch in the side of the lower leg into that perineal group. And then bring it back up. Option to push into it to release it, right? And then we're going to open to the side for a adductor stretch. Again, whichever position works for their other leg. But I find sometimes taking the opposite hand out will help keep them from rotating over. And you only want them to find their stretch, right? They can again pull it towards them for a little more hammy, or they can go here. Now if you rotate the heel to the sky, you'll get even more into that inner thigh. You just hold it and breathe there. Bring it back up. I'm going to press away, and then I'm going to bring that free leg into a figure four stretch. Option to, connect with any of these. The rope leg lets you control how much of a stretch. You can press down on the thigh. Try not to do the knee joint, but if they press on the thigh, they can help control the hip hike as well as increase the stretch a little bit. This feels really good to me today. And then while this foot's still in the strap, I'm going to straighten it out to uncross. While it's holding the tension, I'm going to put my other foot in. They'll feel like they're longer on one side. It's temporary. And then I'm going to get rid of that strap. And again, foot bar, platform, or down to the floor, depending on their range. We're going to go right into that little hamstring stretch. Option to pull a little bit and give a push-pull Just let the rope do the work, trying to keep the pelvis down, watching for the hip booty height, right? And then just parallel, try not to turn out too much here. Reaching the heel to the sky, can release it, pull again. They may be enough right there. And then we're going to take it across the body. So just not letting the hip come up. So again, that opposite hand out can help. They could pull down, could rotate the toe down or the pinky up, but it's a hip spiraling and trying to feel that lateral hip, sides of the waist staying as long as I can. Bringing it back up through center, again, wherever they need this leg to be, and we're going to drop it out to the side. And I like to keep that hip flexor down. And then again, finding maybe that other arm going out to counterbalance it, and finding their stretch. They can play with what angle feels best to them, but again, trying to keep the pelvis still. Abs are still actively pulling my hip down. And I breathe into the stretch. And again, here I can rotate the heel up and externally rotate through the hip a little bit. Spirals that up the inner thigh a little more. Bringing it back up, pressing it away, and then bringing the free leg up and finding that figure four. Again, compress on the thigh to find that stretch. Feels really good in my hip. I'm going to press away. Find the footbar and take that foot out of the strap. And then once I'm free of the strap, I'm going to roll to my side and climb it off of my back. All right. From here, I'm going to use the ballet bar. So I have my ladder barrel instead of a ballet bar. So I'm going to put my hands on the bar, and I'm going to find my little plank. So I'm going to zip up core, nice strong line. I'm going to do a little protract, retract, or that scapular push-up. 3, 2, and then hold, and maybe do some regular push-ups. Finding core, all the things. And then hold. Hips go back, forward, fold, stretch. Chest and shoulders get a stretch, hips do. And just let them breathe there for a second. And then articulate, if you can, back to the plank. Find shoulders down, head in line with spine. And then lift one foot off the ground. Put it back down, and the other one. So elbows are soft, but stationary. We're doing just a little hip extension, working on the core, trying to balance left to right. And then shift back to that stretch again. This time, pedal the heels. So you're doing a little calf raise, or like you're running or prancing. And then keep one heel up and have them turn their shoulders just a little bit to the leg they left straight. And think, reach the sits bone, hip bone away from the wall or the bar. Come back to center, lift the other leg, same thing. Think hip bone, sits bones goes away, and slightly turn those shoulders away from the bar. Come back to center, and then bring yourself back up all the way to standing. Now I'm going to turn sideways to the bar. And I'm going to go down to my forearm, making sure the elbow is slightly in front of the shoulder. And I'm going to think side plankish position. I'm going to have a staggered stance for a little more stability. Nice and open across the body. And then lift the outside leg. Maybe give it a little kick forward and back. Or a little, oops, my bar moves. There we go. Or a little just abduction. So again, we're working the whole sideline of the body. Shoulders are strong. A great little side plank move to work side of the body. And then bring that foot down in front, stand up, hold on to the bar, and then side bend away from it, stretching out that top side. Maybe bringing the arm a little bit forward so you're looking towards the toes or the front hand. And then bring it back up. I'm going to turn around and do the same stuff on the other side. So I'm going to put my forearm on the bar with my elbows slightly in front of the shoulder. Legs can be staggered or stacked. I'm going to find that side plank. Trying to get shoulder blade down and strong, head in line. And then lifting that top leg so I can do the abduction or I can do the kick forward and back. Trying to find the stability and balance in the body. Again, playing with ab and abduction or hip flexion and extension while staying strong and stable. And then I bring the top leg forward, straighten my arm, grab the bar, and then lean away from it into like a standing mermaid. Big side stretch. And then bringing it all the way back up. I'm going to put my bar away. Mimicking what we have in the studio here, I'm going to turn this back to facing the reformer all the way. I'm going to stand inside of mine for purposes of not changing stuff. I also have my other springs on, so if I were at the springboard, I'm going to stand nice and tall, and I'm just going to do my little chest expansion. With the springs about shoulder height. And then I'm going to hold and do the head turn for a cervical stretch. Release, pull it back, turn, turn, and release. I'm going to do that again. Press it back. First side, second side, release, pull it back, turn, turn, and release. So while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and do a little tricep just to work those arms a little bit. Find the core, find the balance, breathe, 3, 2, and 1. All right, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to have those handles, and I'm going to find my nice core connect, and I'm going to do a little hug-a-tree. They can be in a staggered stance if they need to. And I want to feel the scapula glide, protracting and retracting on my back a little bit as I hug. So chest and shoulders are doing some work, but I want to find that back body as well. Now I'm going to hold my open hug. I got a little tension in the strap. I'm going to go right into a variation of the butterfly. So make sure their knees are not hyperextended. And then I'm going to side bend. One arm up, one arm over. Come back to the neutral. And I'm going to butterfly the other way. So that nice stretch of the side body. Activation of the obliques. Shoulder blades should be strong. One more each side. And then I'm going to keep my hands down, and I would walk away, opening the heart, a little thoracic extension, looking up and giving me a nice controlled chest stretch, shoulder stretch. And then I would walk back to the wall, let go of the straps. And I'm going to grab my box. I'm going to put my long box on now. And I'm going to start seated on the box, facing the straps. And they can hold the straps wherever works for them. I'm going to make my little hug-a-tree fist bump circle. I want to be on the front half or third of the box. I'm going to do a little half roll back. So hinge back if people have back stuff, but otherwise we want to try to activate abs, mobilize the spine with our little half roll back into that. So initiate with the pelvis, flexing the spine as we roll back a little bit, and come back up tall. A little flexion, coming up tall. I'm going to add rotation. So I'm going to hold the back, little C curve, and I'm going to turn center, turn, center, sit up, do it again. Roll it back, rotate, center, rotate, center, and all the way tall. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to roll back, rotate, center, rotate, center, all the way up. One more time. A little oblique twist while I'm here. And then sitting all the way up. Now I'm going to get that posture nice and tall again, sitting up. They can scoot back depending on their height if they need to. And then a little just, that same little chest expansion, just plowing. Palms facing in, so those shoulders are nice and open. And just do a few of those to get that nice long line, traveling the head reaching. And then I'm going to come up. I'm going to cross the straps and put my arms in the straps right at the top of my forearm. The goalpost shape, open elbows. So I wanted to start with the scapula sliding back. So think rhomboids, then deltoids. So their elbows are slightly below the shoulder. Ribs are in, posture is tall. And then I'm going to hold this one open. I'm going to pull my elbows down and then up a little bit. So I'm doing that scapular glide, little lat pulling down. One more. And then I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to put my hands on my low back. They can go to their hips if they don't have that mobility. And then I just want to let the springs, sorry, they should still be on my elbow. Let the springs pull me into a little posterior shoulder stretch. You can push into your low back with your hands and open the elbows a little bit and then release them. So that would be a way to kind of go out of the stretch and then back into it. And just breathe here again. Their hands could be towards their hips if they don't have as much mobility, or the fingertips kind of line up at that sacral junction on the back. Feels so good. And then I'm going to bring it in, and I'm going to bring my elbows in by my side, and I'm going to do that rhomboid squeeze with external rotation. So when I nickname the Fonzie or hitchhiker, so I'm making a little W shape, and I'm activating rotator cuff, shoulders, really working those postural muscles, because we really want to balance that body front to back. And then I'm going to release that. All right, I'm going to put my straps away, and I'm going to turn sideways. I'll face the camera side first. My feet can stay on the carriage if I want, or dangle them off. I just want to scoot back so I'm nice and anchored in the box and won't fall out. And then centered on the box, they might need to wiggle or move a little bit till I can find the footbar. That'll depend on height a little bit. I'm going to take my free hand out. I'm going to do a mermaid here. It's a little nicer on hips and knees to sit on the box. And then I'm just going to press away a little bit, trying to keep my hips down. So it's not a big movement. And then I'm going to come back up to top. And again, I could get closer to the footbar if I wanted a little more range. And then bringing it back up top. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to hold this one, and I'm going to look up to the sky, feeling that stretch change a little bit, keeping the bottom arm still, and I'm going to look down to the springs. Breathe into that, back to the side, and then come up. I'm going to push my hand into the side of the box and counter stretch. And then I'm going to do all of that on the other side. So I'm going to swivel around to the other side. My stopper, that's it. All right, so free hand out, and then I'm going to press away a little bit, and I'm going to reach up and over, trying to keep both hips down, finding that rainbow. My top hand's my water style to make the rainbow, and I'm going to come back in. Do that again, breathing into that top rib, finding that lung expand so I really get that breath and stretch out the rib cage and lateral hip and obliques. I'm going to hold this one over, and then I'm going to look up, keeping that bottom shoulder down. And then I'm going to look down to the springs. Breathe into that. come back to my neutral side bend, come up, and then I'm going to push into the side of the box and reach up and over. I'm going to step off of my box so that I can line it back up. So it'll quit clinging. Back in my sock. Hands on the front corner of the box. I'm going to climb on to the long box with my chest just at or off the edge. My hands are going to go on the frame just in front of the carriage so they're not too far from my shoulders. So I may need to scoot up a little further than normal. Legs are parallel active and a little bit apart. If they need to turn out for SI joint issues, they can. Crown of the head reaching long. I'm going to extend my elbows and come up into a small swan. And then I'm going to bend my elbows and come back down. So I want to initiate by scapula sliding down. Belly button stays lifted, pubic bone stays down. Just a nice little swan. Gentle extension of that back. If they've got a little more in, they can bring their hands that couple inches up to the edge of the carriage instead of the frame. Legs are active, right? So we can do a few swans, whichever version works best for them. And then I'm going to reach arms and legs long into that Superman flying position, and then go right into some swimming. So good to work the back of the body. Belly stays actively lifting, and I pedal those arms up and down. And then release hands back down. Look towards the end of the box. Lengthening, not just dropping the head, but lengthening and feeling a nice stretch in the thoracic and cervical. And then I'm going to press myself off of the box into what I would consider the playground. Finding that the leg on top into a figure four, if that works for them. If that doesn't work for them, they could sit on the box and do a seated figure four. So if their hip or knee doesn't go that way, and you can play with the angles of that front leg. You just want to keep your hands there. They can bend to get a little bit more. Bring it up, standing up, and in the same place, they can switch. So that leg can go back. Breathe into it, try to square hips and shoulders, and then I can bend my elbows, reaching forward to increase it. And then I'm going to press off of there. All right, I'm going to remove my box. And I'm kind of coming back to the reformer. Make sure I can skip this up. Oh, I did. I thought I had one more. Sorry, y'all. So I'm going to have them come to the end of the reformers. I'm going to put it on one blue string and take the thread off. It just, most people, it works a little better. I'm going to stand at the end of the reformer. So while they're doing that figure four stretch, I can change the spring, right? Okay. Or you can have them do it. That's okay too, so you don't have to get in their space. Hands on the end of the box. I'm going to press the carriage away, keeping my hips over my heels, not flying forward, into kind of that down dog, flat back, fold over like stretch. And then if I can hinge if I need to with shoulders and hips. Otherwise, I can round up, articulating up into a high cat shape. And then I can articulate back, tail to head. And your hands are on the edges of the box. And bringing it in. And extending it away. Bringing it in. I'm going to take my right hand and I'm going to reach it down to the side of the box. So I've got a little thread and needle. I'm going to push my hand into the box so it stays active. If they needed to put it on the frame, they could. I'm just going to hold that stretch. Put both hands back on the box. Peel it up. I'm going to go back out there again. Again, keeping the hips over the heels. And then my left hand's going to come through, either press into the side of the box or into the frame. I'm trying to get a little thoracic rotation stretch. So I don't have to press the box out too far. I want my hips over the heels, not leaning into it, right? Both hands back on the box and articulate it back up. Sorry for that pause there to get in position. I thought I had one more in my plan. And then I'm going to come back to the reformer. I'm going to do a little the monkey fold over stretch or a posterior chain stretch. I can have my people put their feet on the great platform. I want them to be able to grab the foot bar and they're going to press out. Pushing with the feet, pulling with the hands a little bit. If they're more flexible clients, I can go here. Foot bar. And they even have, if they got a little more, they can drop their heels, pull with the hands, bring it in. If they don't have that range, they can do just the upper stretch here. So any of those three versions that work for your clients. Okay, I'm going to then stand up on one side of the reformer for some eaves lunge variation. So my knee is pretty close, front knee is pretty close to the foot bar end. I'm going to press back into my thigh stretch. So keeping pelvis forward, abs active, front knee bent, back knee down. You can always pat it if you need to. And then you can bring the hand that matches the leg up and look up a little bit, still keeping the pelvis neutral, pulling the pubic bone pelvis forward so that back cheek is firing. And then I get a deeper stretch. And then I can even side bend away a little bit. Now I get even more oblique and really deep into that deep hip flexor psoas. And then I'm going to bring it up. And then I can go into a hamstring stretch. So I'm going to straighten the front leg, hinge over a little bit, still trying to keep neutral in that back, right? And then I'm going to push the heel into the floor, option to go towards the splits if they have them. A lot of people in our Stretch-ilates type classes don't. I can push my heel down and pull my toe up to increase it as well. Finding that hamstring stretch of the down leg. If I lifted my heels, I put my toes back down and come all the way in. And I'm going to stand sideways facing the reformer. This foot can be up or down. Down if they can, up if they feel a little safer. I'm going to hold on to the foot bar. I'm going to bend my standing leg. My other hand comes to the carriage. And I'm just going to fold over here, you guys. I'm not trying to go anywhere with the carriage. Maybe a little bit based on leg length. But I call this the spider stretch because I think you look like the legs coming out from the spider body. But it's just an inner thigh stretch. I'm just pushing that foot down. If they've got more in them, you could let them go away, but their hands need to come to the frame, wood frame, or mine's a metal frame. And then I would walk myself back in, back to that spider leg shape, and then stand up. Stretch I really also like here. I'm going to put my hands on the carriage, and then I'm going to put my hand that was on the foot bar on the shoulder block, and then I'm going to press it away. This hand's here for balance, and I'm just going to give me a little stretch there. So again, it's that thread the needle thoracic rotation. I'm still getting a little hamstring stretch as well. And then I'm going to bring it back in. And then they can walk around. I'm going to crawl across. Either way works. My other foot is going to be by the edge of the foot bar. I'm going to sit down or lunge down into that eaves lunge stretch. So square hips and shoulders, back neutral, glute active so that pelvis comes forward. I'm going to breathe there for a little bit. And I'm going to lift my top hand. Same side as the leg that's down, stretches out that psoas. Big breath there. Option to add a little side bend towards the standing leg. Again, trying to keep that spine neutral in the not hyperextending the lumbar. Big thigh stretch here. Bring it back in. Come back in for a second. And then I'm going to keep that front leg straight. I'm going to hinge and go into a hamstring stretch. That back leg can stay in as much as they need it to for their range, right? With the option of going towards a split or staying right here. Lifting the toe up so you get a little more into that heel is another option. Bring the foot back down, bringing it up, and then I'm going to turn sideways, stepping off to get there if I need to. Again, if you can keep that sole of the foot down, then we get more inner thigh. If they need to bring the toe up for their range, they keep holding onto the foot bar. Other hand finds a carriage. They may be fine right here. They can go a little lower into that squat, trying to find this inner thigh stretch. So I'm thinking about pushing my instep down, and that activates it a little bit more. And I breathe there for a few breaths. And then I have the option to stay right there or to walk my hands down the frame to go out towards a more of a bigger straddle stretch. And then I would walk it back in, step off of there, and then whichever side I'm sitting on, I'm going to sit what I call side saddle. And depending on their height, they can adjust where they're sitting. I'm going to put my arm closest to the footbar on the footbar. My other one's going down to the upright. This is my scapular stretch with a little push-pull. I'm going to push on the footbar, pull on the upright, with the option of nodding my chin down a little bit and playing with what feels good to me there. Pushing the footbar, pulling with the upright. And then I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to put both hands either on the corner, and now I'm going to push away. Changes the stretch a little bit. Now it's a little more of that. And then bringing it up. Sitting up, I'm going to take my hand closest to the shoulder block against it. Depending on my mobility, I can go either one. I'm going to push on that. I'm going to kind of pull. And I got some mobility, so I'm going to go to the back one. I'm going to pull on that foot bar a little bit and push on that shoulder block. Now I got a thoracic stretch, chest stretch, pec stretch. You can keep your head in line, or you can turn towards it or away from it to change it to where it feels good to them. And then bring that in. I'm going to straddle facing the shoulder blocks. I'm going to hold on to the edge of the shoulder blocks. And I'm going to do like a little pelvic slump, if you will. I'm going to tuck my tail and roll back a little. Just hang onto the shoulder blocks for a little balance. So it's similar to the other stretch, but it's a different, and you can adjust where they are. But you want to try to pull belly in and give a little lumbar stretch here. And then bring it up tall. I'm going to press down into the shoulder blocks and lift my heart with the option of pressing into the footbar or the carriage behind them, depending on their shoulder mobility. So a lot of them might find this pretty nice. And then I'm going to take the leg to swivel to the other side, finding my side saddle position there. I'm going to repeat this all here. So my left arm is the one that would be on top. It goes on the shoulder block. My right goes on the upright. And then I'm going to push with the left, pull with the right, or push with the footbar, pull with the upright. Nodding forward a little bit. And again, my legs are a little side saddle. And that head turn, find where it feels good to them, but you should feel a stretch in the scapular area as the main thing. You can bring both hands to the corner and push away, and then you get a little lap. And again, you can kind of drop the one shoulder and that top. This outside hand is the one getting the big stretch in the lap. And then bring it up, and then I'm going to reach for whichever shoulder block hand works for me, and I'm going to pull on the footbar hand a little, and to pull my body that way, and I'm going to push into the shoulder block. Or you can push into the shoulder block. You can play with that and see what feels good to them, to give them a little chest and pec stretch there. And if I planned it right, then I can stand up. Maybe they're in their playground. I'm gonna come to this side just because my playground there was a little close to the wall. And then I'm gonna take a big stretch up. So I'm gonna go up on my tippy toes, lower my heels, do that again, tall spine, lower down, and then I'm gonna do a final roll down. So I'm gonna nod, round down, roll down, finding my way, either hands to the thighs and a flat back, bend the knees, straighten the knees, or hands towards the floor. Options always, right? And then they can walk back up their legs, bring it up, hands to the side, give a little twist, reach, center, twist, reach, center, hands come down, press them down and away, opening the heart for a little chest expansion stretch. And that is my Stretch-ilates Center&Balance. So I did footwork in a few different variations with some prancing, holding the calf stretch.
with 3 springs, 2 reds and a blue is what I did on this reformer. Then I did some articulating bridges, added some hip dip rotation, some hip shift side to side. I did some spinal rotation, so kind of the tick-tocky move, while I changed the springs to 1 red. Did some hands in the straps, a little protract, retract, some circles, held the arms open for a stretch, some feet in the straps, some lower and lift to get the hamstrings activated, some frogs, and then holding the stretch, taking it to the Peter Pan stag, some circles both directions, and then switch to the single leg feet in the straps where I did the hamstring and hip flexor stretch, the abductor lateral hip stretch across the body, the adductor opening away from the body, the figure 4 stretch. And then I went to the bar and did some planks on the bar with some protract retract, some push-ups, some hold, forward fold stretch, back to some planks with some leg lifts, and then the forward fold, pedaling the leg and rotating towards the straight leg. And then I did side planks with the leg lift, either kick forward or abduction, and then the side stretch where I leaned away from the bar. And then did the same thing on the other side. And then I did a little chest expansion with the head turn. And then did turned around. Oh, sorry, I meant to do a roll down with the hands in the straps. I did skip that one when I went through it. But that's an option to throw in there. And then I turned around and I did some hug a tree to wake up, activate, get the blood flowing in the chest and shoulders, find the scapular movement, and then did some butterfly to get some lateral flexion and mobility there. And then I put the long box on the reformer, and I did some half rollbacks and half rollbacks with rotation, some chest expansion plowing to get that, and a little tricep there. I think I did tricep at the springboard. You could do it either place or both. And then I crossed the straps for my open elbows in the goalpost position, and then pulled the elbows up and down a little bit for a little lat and scapular glide. And then I did the hands behind the back for that nice posterior shoulder stretch where you can push in and out of it a little bit. And then I opened up for the rhomboid squeeze, or the W that I nicknamed the Fonzie, so a little external rotation with some scapular squeeze. And then I got rid of the straps, turned sideways, did some mermaids with looking up and looking down with that, and then a counter stretch. And I did that to the other side as well. And then went prone on the box for some swan with the hands on the rails, with some variations of height of the swan, and then some swimming, because working the back line and posture is so good. And then I came up and I stood at the end of the reformer once I remembered that I was doing that with the box still on, and did that kind of standing cat, articulating spine to press out and in, and then the hands on the angle or the little thread the needle there. I changed that to 1 blue. I did a figure 4 stretch standing facing the box in between while the spring was changed, but you could also just go to the end and let them change the spring. And then I went to box off and did the eaves lunge, the hamstring stretch, the single leg straddle stretch, and I did a seated posterior chain stretch. I call it monkey fold over, like the push through bar, but it's just a nice posterior chain stretch with the option of straddling the reformer, feet on the platform, or feet on the foot bar. Those always feel good. And then went to the side saddle for sitting sideways, feet on the floor, angled to the foot bar, the push-pull scapular stretch, and then rotation with the shoulder block and foot bar, and then both hands down and drop in the outside shoulder for a nice lat stretch. And then